uh, Virgo, clarity, not the gradual, barely perceptible kind that arrives so slowly you barely notice it shifting. The other kind, the specific, sudden, everything is different now quality of a moment where the fog that has been present perhaps so long, it started to feel like simply the weather of this particular season lifts. And what is revealed underneath is not complicated, is actually, in its newly visible form, almost startlingly simple. You can see what was obscured is no longer obscured. And what you see changes what is required of you. That is where you are, Virgo. In the specific, slightly disorienting, now I understand quality of someone who has arrived through whatever path of experience and reflection and the slow accumulation of evidence that finally crossed a threshold at a clarity that the previous chapter did not have access to. And the clarity is asking something of you, not passivity, a plan. Take what belongs to you today, Virgo. What resonates, let it reach the analytical mind with its full weight rather than being deflected by the Virgo tendency to assess before receiving. What does not, release it gently. But for those of you who felt something land when I said clarity, who felt the specific recognition of someone who has recently understood something they did not previously understand in a way that feels permanent rather than tentative, this reading is speaking directly to that understanding and what it requires next. Let me speak about the clarity first, about what has become clear and why it matters that it has become clear now. Because timing and clarity is never random. The moment when understanding arrives, when the fog lifts and the landscape becomes visible, is always connected to a readiness that preceded it. A readiness that was being built through everything that came before without always being legible as readiness while it was being built. Soft sigh. Something has been revealing itself to you in the specific accumulating piece by piece way that certain truths arrive not all at once, but in the patient, methodical sequence of someone who was not ready for the full picture and received it in installments until the installments added up to something undeniable. And what it added up to, what the full picture now shows, is a landscape you can actually navigate, not the confused which direction is correct quality of someone who cannot yet see the terrain, the specific, oriented, I know where I am and I can see where I need to go quality of someone who has finally fully arrived at an accurate reading of their own situation. That accuracy is rare. It is worth acknowledging before moving to what it requires because Virgo, whose relationship with clarity tends to be complicated by the analytical mind's preference for certainty before movement, sometimes reaches a genuine moment of understanding and immediately jumps to the next question without fully inhabiting the understanding itself. Inhabit it for a moment. The fog has lifted. You can see that is significant. Let it be significant before you begin planning what to do about it. Now, the plan. Because Spirit is pressing this forward with these specific practical quality that tells me the planning is not optional, is not a nice to have alongside the clarity, is the natural and necessary next step of someone who has finally seen the landscape clearly enough to move through it with intention rather than simply reacting to whatever presents itself. Virgo is, of all signs, the one most naturally equipped for this moment. The one whose specific gifts of precision, of attention to detail, of the ability to see not just the destination, but the steps between here and there in their correct sequence, make planning not a burden, but a form of genuine expression. The plan is where Virgo lives, where the analytical mind is not a liability, but the specific asset that the situation requires. And the plan that the current clarity is calling for is one that only Virgo, with the specific, painstaking, nothing escapes attention quality of your sign's natural approach, is equipped to build properly. Uh, Let me speak about what the plan needs to address because Spirit is being specific about the dimensions of what has become clear and what each dimension requires. The first dimension is the relational one. What has become clear about a specific connection or about the pattern of connections in your life, about what you have been accepting that does not match what you have understood through the clarity that you actually require, about the gap between the quality of relationship you are capable of and the quality of relationship you have been settling for, not from weakness, but from the specific Virgo habit of managing the gap quietly rather than addressing it directly. The clarity has made that gap visible, and the plan needs to account for it not dramatically, not in the form of sweeping declarations that feel powerful in the moment and complicate everything in the days that follow. In the specific, concrete, this is what I need and this is how I am going to honor that need way of someone who has finally, clearly understood what they are no longer willing to leave unaddressed. The second dimension is the practical one. What has become clear about your material circumstances, about the gap between where you are and where your own honest assessment of your capabilities suggests you could be, about the specific steps that the fog was preventing you from seeing clearly and that the clarity is now revealing as available. Not a wholesale transformation of your circumstances overnight. Virgo understands better than any sign that genuine, lasting change is built in increments, one deliberate step at a time, with the patience and the precision that real building requires. But movement, deliberate, clear eyed, this is the next right step movement in the direction the clarity is pointing. The clarity is pointing somewhere. That is the specific and important thing. Spirit is pressing forward. The clarity is not simply illuminating where you are, it is illuminating where you need to go. And the plan is the bridge between the seeing and the going. The specific, practical, built by Virgo hands bridge that turns understanding into movement rather than leaving it as simply a better informed version of staying still. Soft sigh. The third dimension is the internal one, and this is the one Spirit is pressing most insistently for Virgo today? What has become clear about yourself, about the specific ways in which you have been operating from a version of your own story that was less accurate than the clarity now available? About what you have been undervaluing in yourself, the specific gifts and qualities and capabilities that the fog made easy to minimize, and what accurate self assessment, now that the fog has lifted, actually shows. What it shows is more than you have been crediting yourself with: more capability, more resilience, more of the specific, earned, built through everything quality that genuine strength has, as opposed to the performed strength of someone who is simply enduring. You have not simply been enduring, you have been building. And the plan needs to be built from the accurate version of who you are, from the full, clear, nothing underestimated picture of your own capability, rather than from the diminished version that the fog was making feel like the realistic one. Build the plan from your actual strength, not the cautious, let me not overestimate what I am capable of version that Virgo sometimes defaults to when the risk of setting expectations too high feels more dangerous than the cost of setting them too low. From the actual strength, the full, clear, this is honestly what I am capable of version that the clarity is now making available, because the plan built from actual strength produces different outcomes from the plan built from underestimated strength, reaches further, aims more accurately, produces results that actually match the capacity rather than results that are proportionate to a diminished version of it. Virgo, your capacity is not diminished, has not been diminished by anything the previous chapter required of you. If anything, it has increased through the specific, unglamorous, nobody gives you credit for this way that enduring real difficulty while maintaining the standard always increases capacity. You are more than you were. The plan should reflect that. Uh, Now, I want to speak about the timing of this clarity, because why now matters and deserves honest attention. The clarity arrived now because you are ready to act on it. That is the simple, honest explanation. Not because the situation has finally provided sufficient evidence, it has been providing evidence for a while, but because the version of you that exists right now, shaped by everything the previous chapters required, is finally in the position to receive the full picture and respond to it with the specific quality of grounded, self possessed, this is what needs to happen intention that the clarity is calling for. Earlier versions of you received parts of the picture, managed the parts, did what was available to do with incomplete information. This version, the current one, the one standing in the clarity right now, receives the full picture. And the full picture, received by someone who is finally equipped to respond to it fully, produces the plan, not the partial plan of someone working with partial information, the complete one, built on the accurate landscape, from the actual strength, in the direction the clarity is pointing. Build it, Virgo, with the full quality of what your sign brings to the building of plans, the precision, the detail orientation, the ability to see the steps in their correct sequence and build the bridge between here and there with the specific, reliable, nothing overlooked quality that Virgo construction always produces. This is your gift applied to your own life, to the specific and significant moment of a life that has finally fully seen its own landscape clearly and is ready to move through it with intention. The plan is not the destination. It is the bridge, the specific, concrete, built by your hands bridge between the clarity of what you now understand and the reality of what the understanding makes possible, between seeing and going, between knowing and doing, between the fog finally lifting and the movement that the fog-free landscape makes available. Soft sigh. It is all becoming clear. The relationships, the circumstances, the specific, accurate, this is actually what I am capable of picture of yourself. All of it visible now in a way it was not before, not because anything changed in the external world, but because something completed in the internal one. And the completing of the internal produces the clarity of the external as its natural consequence. You can see Virgo finally, completely, in the specific, accurate, nothing obscured way of someone who has earned the view through everything it took to get here. And the view is telling you something, clearly, without the ambiguity that the fog made unavoidable. Listen to it, then build in the Virgo way, methodically, precisely, with the full quality of attention that your sign brings to everything that matters, one step at a time, in the correct sequence. Toward the destination the clarity has revealed. The plan is possible. You are capable of it. And the clarity that is making it visible right now, arriving at precisely the moment when you are equipped to respond to it fully, is not coincidence. It is the specific, patient, always working, even when invisible quality of a life that has been building toward this moment through everything it has been through. Oh, see it clearly, Virgo. Build accordingly. And trust with the full, grounded, evidence based quality of trust that your sign requires, and that this moment actually warrants that the plan, built from the accurate landscape and the actual strength, will produce the results that the clarity was always pointing toward. The fog has lifted, the landscape is visible. And you standing here, finally seeing clearly, know exactly what to do next. If this reading found you today, if something here named this specific quality of the clarity that has been arriving and gave you the grounded confidence to build from it, stay close. Subscribe and come back. Because the story of a Virgo who finally sees the full landscape and builds the plan that the seeing makes possible, that is a story worth witnessing all the way through. And the next reading will be there for every precise, deliberate, nothing overlooked step of the building.